It's also today's topic is about a content program that we've also had for many years, 11 years, our annual blogger survey. So 11 years ago, we tried to answer the question, how long does it take to write a blog post? There was no good answer for that. So the only way to answer certain types of questions is with a survey and just go talk to lots of people. So uh, we never really had a big enough list to make it that easy to do the data gathering. So it was a lot of manual one-to-one DMs to friends, like, would you mind taking this short survey? And we did it again, and we did it again, and we just finished the 11th time. It's all possible because of Amanda, who does all of the publishing and editing and coordinates all the image creation. And before we just jump in, Amanda, any announcements today? How are things going?
Things are going great. I think whenever we get this written, that'll be our next big announcement. I think right now.
It's not written yet, but we're gathering all the quotes. And what often happens, just kind of like in a dark room at 5 in the morning of us, just me looking at charts, we're going to do that same thinking out loud and with experts. So today is really just about looking at the data and getting points of view from some of the top pros in content, some of the OGs. So without further ado, should we just jump in and start looking at charts?
That sounds great.
Heck yeah.
Okay. First, one of the most important slides is just the performance of blogs. Currently, 57% report that blogs drive results, 20% drive that the blog is driving, report that the blog is driving strong results. That is kind of expected, not that bad, but actually it's down. So one of the first kind of storylines here is that in 11 years, there are fewer people reporting that their blogs are driving strong results than ever before. I'm not sure. When I saw that, I thought, wow, that's a bit different than we've seen in the past. It's a big drop from last year. Casey, what do you think?
That's actually one of the things that stood out to me as well. But from just my own personal experience, I'm not shocked at this at all. It's something that we're seeing, that we have been seeing. I saw someone in the comments just write, it's harder to rank in Google, right? You have your AI overviews now. We had featured snippets for so long, but now it's not even a featured snippet. It's just Google taking your content. You have Reddit and then all these forums showing up. And so, the thing that stood out to me is that we actually cut our blog production this year. Really over the past, probably 6 months ago, we said, we were writing 2 to 3 blog posts a week because that's what you do for performance, right? And don't get me wrong, I felt like they were good, solid blog posts, but we just weren't seeing the same results we used to. And so we shifted some of those efforts to lead gen assets, some articles, more timely things that we were seeing better results for. So I'm not I'm shocked a little bit, but from personal experience, not shocked, if you know what I mean.
Yep, I do. The data shows that of all the things that are getting harder, search engines are now number 1, where they used to be number 3, attracting traffic from search. So that's gotten more difficult. Just engagement. You can see this is sort of, emails more or less flat over time for what's getting harder. Joe, what are you seeing out there for just top line challenges and overall performance of content?
Well, I think what is a search engine today as well? I mean, just to take, I was at a couple events where the question's always asked, are you using ChatGPT or another AI tool for search? And 75 to 80% of the hands go up in the room. And this is my qualitative feedback. I was at a wedding recently, a lot of younger people there. And of course, I'm asking them, are you using ChatGPT? Are you using Google search? And they're all saying, well, we don't use, we're not using Google much anymore. So between the fact that the thing I don't like about Google search right now is the fact that they've got the AI right on the top that
Right.
So you're not going to get a lot of click-throughs anymore if you are even ranking anymore. And the sad thing is we knew this was coming. We've known it for the past decade that we're going to come a time where this is rented land and Google right now is playing nice with us. And now we're going to go to the point where, well, they don't need it anymore and they're going a new direction and we've got to adapt to it.
I've never shown this slide before. I'm going to use this maybe here and there. I'd love your perspectives. For a decade, I've been telling everyone's known content marketing attracts people who search for information. The sales pages, service pages, product pages attract people who are looking to buy something. Then it aligns lovely, right? Content marketing, information intent, sales pages, commercial intent. But now I'm looking at key phrases differently. And if you break these sorts of things down, I'm asking myself while looking at key phrases, does that key phrase have visit website intent? Because not all phrases do. And many things people search for, including, I think, best practices, you're more than happy to see that in a feature snippet or an AI overview or directly inside the AI app, right? You're using Perplexity or ChatGPT, and it's just giving you the basics because best practices are really kind of, AI is good for that. It's just the general kind of average of the internet sort of answer. So I absolutely relate to the headwinds in search. And I also believe that it's just sort of this long evolution of a declining click-through rates. This isn't new. The featured snippet has been hurting click-through rates forever. This is, big tech has no interest in sending us free traffic. That's not really part of their business model. So yeah, I think we've just basically captured here what many of us have known anecdotally, which is that SEO specifically has gotten harder, and blogging in general has gotten a bit more challenging. I'm going to keep going. Biggest blogging challenges, yes. Number one is now getting traffic. It used to be finding time was the number one challenge. Weirdly, now finally 2024, there's a drop in the challenge of getting support. Now we're getting support. What? Where were you for me 3 years ago?
Yeah, it only took a decade.
Yeah.
Does this track, you guys? What do you think?
I mean, it just, for especially like working at the agency for so long, I mean, content became such a big role. I mean, really, and especially over the past, I'd say 5 years, maybe even longer. But yeah, I mean, it used to be, I can't tell you how many clients we used to work with who were so hesitant about having a third party write their content or having other people write their content. They were very, very particular about what content went on their site, right? That changed so much, right? Content just became this is a thing we have to have. So, I mean, it's great to see.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm a little suspect about that getting support number because I think blogging has just become, to Casey's point, this is just something we do. It's part of our regular process, and it's now, I think we're coming to the point where it's going to start to get questioned. I mean, you've got a lot of people in the chat saying, I don't know, what is searching going to look like? Are people under 25 going to search for this? What is AI? This is, I think, the first time in a long time, Andy, that we don't know what searching means in the next 2 to 3 years, and also how much of this is textual. I mean, we're actually obviously blogging things, and AI is picking that up, and Google's picking that up, but a lot of people are going to be using their voice to get this information. And then how is that going to help us get traffic to the first point? It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think that getting traffic piece is definitely so much harder. But it goes to, right, I think when you talk about, okay, you have your blogging, but then it goes to the other things you're doing with it, right? So, what did I say? The kids search it up, right? So if your audience is on TikTok, a blog probably isn't what's going to attract traffic. But maybe it's a mix of, hey, I'm going to create a post for search or for people to find, but I'm also going to create a short video that can go on these other platforms. So I think it's just evolving of what we do with that content.
That's I think a really important point, because the idea of getting traffic sort of presupposes that is a key success factor, when in fact content can do amazing things for brand awareness and visibility without any visits. Look at, these platforms. TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. These, there are brands that are crushing it on platforms that really don't drive much traffic, but create lots of visibility. I mean, when I saw click-through rates declining from search, I remember the moment it was I think I want to try this LinkedIn newsletter thing. I have 10 times the visibility I had 5 years ago because I decided, okay, I'm going to make this deal with LinkedIn. I'm going to kind of build on rented land here, and I'm going to put my content there as well as here. And so I think that if you set aside the goal of traffic and focus on the goal of visibility, you might not be disappointed at all. You can build lot of awareness and visibility. If you kind of agree to kind of partner with big tech platforms and just being aware, it reminds me of blog comments. That died. What happened? There really aren't comments on blogs anymore. They're all on LinkedIn or they're
Yep.
all on the platform. So I
But
don't
also
know
to your
what.
point, Andy, I think maybe we're talking about blogging, of course, but textual content is still critically important, especially when you take what you just said, and also with
Mhm.
email newsletters, which, as you know, I'm still a huge believer in. I
Of
mean, a
course,
lot of
more than
what we're
ever,
talking about with results
more
will
than
lead
ever.
ultimately to somebody signing up for your newsletter, and then your
Yep.
blog and your newsletter work in tandem together to
Yep.
persuade, convince, to keep loyal, whatever your goal is.
Yeah, those people look less disrupted, right? Email is not getting harder. That's kind of been the same, right? Maybe it's gotten a little harder, but that's not. But this is, these are big tech is in between you and your audience. Of course, you can't control that. Why would that get easier? Email, that's disintermediation. I love this. This is going to be a tradition. If we keep doing if we do a year 12, I hope you guys, I'm asking you already. We've only been here for a couple minutes. Want you back. Okay. Time. This was, I sent the original question. Have we peaked? Are people creating content a little faster? Do we need to invest 4 hours per post?
I
I think
mean, I
we've
don't want to jump ahead here, but maybe some of this has to do with people using AI, right? I mean, we look at what some of the challenges are, and it's
Hmm.
time, and we see people spending less time. And speaking personally, I used to spend hours like evaluating search results, looking for new topic ideas. Like, I can jump into SEMrush, I can jump into GPT, and I can have 10 pretty decent ideas significantly faster.
I think Casey's
Which,
right. I think we absolutely peaked. I think we will see this go down, and in 3 years, we're going to match that 2014 number. And I know the 2014 number is actually different because that was much shorter content. We were talking about it before, where that was
yep,
500 words, 600 word, posts, where
yep.
today it's much, much longer. But I absolutely think we're coming down. Now, I don't know, by the way, I don't know if that's a good thing either. I think
Hmm.
spending more time on it, you talked about this a little bit in your presentation at Macon, Andy, like some of this working through the problems is a good thing
Yeah,
with the creative process. So it is a little bit concerning.
it correlates with performance. We take the answer to the question, do you get strong results? And then we correlate that with all of these other answers. And bloggers who spend more time tend to get better results, but they are statistically more likely to report strong results. Um, Also, maybe people writing shorties too. Uh, I'm giving myself permission to jump around. Here's the length thing. 2014, that 2.5 hour blog post that we wrote was only 800 words. That number has gone up, but maybe that wave is cresting too. I thought I was worried this would just go up forever. What you're looking at is 11 years of data showing the average length of a blog post according to 1,000 bloggers per year, which for a long time just showed this kind of like arms race of skyscraper content. And now maybe, it's been kind of the same for the last 4 years. I don't know, effort, word count, text. Uh, I think a lot of these people are SEOs. I think that there's there is a correlation between length and performance. Bloggers who write longer, not necessarily the mega post, ultimate guides, but the 2,000 plus word articles are more likely to, or bloggers who produce long form content are more likely to report strong results.
I mean, that's
That
not
tracks for me.
surprising.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's not surprising to me. I mean, and especially when you think of, okay, our blog isn't getting as good of results. Well, what do we have to do? We have to create something that's more valuable if we want to see results. More value tends to be things like research, collaborative pieces, things that take more time. So
Right.
yeah, like they're longer, they're more valuable, but you kind of have to do that if your blog isn't performing. You really have to put the focus what's going to work.
That's right.
Casey's right.
Um,
Truly differentiated content. It's absolutely going to take more time and it's going to be longer on a per word basis.
uh, I'm going to jump then over to formats and people who create very visual content with lots of images, let's say 7+ images per post. those are also the bloggers who are reporting strong results. So bigger, more visual, more collaborative. These are, here we go. What formats? How-to articles, list posts. But what really is much more likely to work for people, original research. 25% of bloggers that produce original research report strong results. Interviews, collaborations, right? Video, roundups. It's the collaborative stuff and the visual stuff that seems to align well with strong results.
Andy, I don't know if the research are more or less people actually using more images? I know the results show more images, generally better results. But
Yeah.
in an age right now that it is as easy as it's ever been
Right.
to create imagery. I mean, again, this is just what I'm seeing out there. I still don't see a lot of usage of more than one image.
I don't have a chart for it, but thinking back, I don't think that the use of images has changed much over time. I bet you 5 years ago it was kind of like this, right? An image or two. What is a blog post? It's 1,000 words and a picture or two. I think but that thinking, if that's how you envision, this thing you're producing, that may be limiting, making something that's much more highly visual. By the way, one of our most successful pieces is a roundup of visuals. It's like every chart we've ever made, 55 charts that explain marketing. They love it. It's catnip. Social media loves that thing. What about video? Do you guys see more use of video? Where is it? 1 in 4 bloggers is using video, and that's kind of topped out as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't feel like I'm seeing more video. And to Joe's point, like, and I'm guilty of it too, to be honest. I mean, but one thing I will say, like, it is easier than ever to create a video. And you go to like, going back to like the how-to being one of the best pieces of content, you're putting together a video or a GIF or something like, I'm just thinking, I just wrote a post last week about how to do something with our product on the blog. I put together like screenshot videos of here's how to do that and where to do that. Like, to me, that's where it becomes even more important. So if your how-to articles are things that are driving results, that video piece becomes more important. But I don't feel personally like I'm seeing more video.
When I talk to and meet with a lot of the bloggers and writers, they still don't. It's not that they don't necessarily have the comfort level, or maybe that's it. They don't think about using video as part of their textual content. It's like two different sides of the brain. I'm okay with the image, but I'm not okay with the video. And I think that's where you've got a quarter of them that are very comfortable with both, and that's it.
I think you're absolutely right, Joe. It is like, because it's just, as a content writer, you think of video being so different, but it's really not. And with AI and Canva and all these platforms in your phone, right? Your phone, you can create a video so easy, but I don't think it always clicks that, oh, hey, I could do this just in 10 minutes.
But that's where too, Andy and Casey, the research component, like you've done a great job with this research. And if you, as part of your research, if you recorded a lot of those conversations, that's where you can integrate. It's like, oh, okay, well, here's this research, and here's the quote, and here's the person saying the thing that we called out. That's very valuable, I think. And so that's why you see, I think research performs well every year in your study. One of the reasons.
Yeah, we're going to see that. I think part of this may be just the limitations of this survey itself, because it's a blogger survey, which sounds like a writer survey. If you think of yourself as a blogger or a writer, of course, you're producing text and maybe less video. But we should probably just expand that definition. I'm not a blogger. I'm a content marketer. I develop content, any format that will work. I've always thought it was kind of ironic that, building websites, that's called web design, even though on those key pages that sell, it's the writing that's more important than the design. But we call them blog writers, even though on a blog post, it's really the visuals that is the key success factor in a blog. We should switch these, right? It should be, I need a website writer and I need a a blog designer. content is so cutthroat. You got to really, it's so hard to keep attention. Visuals are so important to keep the person engaged.
Well, let me ask you
Sales
this,
piece.
Andy.
Mhm.
To that point, how long can you do this research project and call it blogging? Do you think you have a like 5 more years? Do you think we're close to you have to change it to text oriented, or are you thinking more content creator?
I got that feedback for the first time last year. Someone said, I love this piece you do, but the name is weird. Why do you call it a blogging survey? I think it's a legacy of when it first started. I was like, how long does it take to write a blog post was the first question we tried to answer. But no, I think it's, you're the founder also of the Creator Economy Exchange, CEX, another great event. And what you're doing there is capturing this interest and growing trend toward just more people making more things, but you didn't limit it to text or video or anything. You're just talking about creators. So no, it's a fair question. And yeah, I'm open. I'm not, we keep doing it.
Whatever's going,
Yeah,
whatever's going. But I think the
we'll
truth
see.
is that you have content creators that you got a whole slew of them that are focused on textual content. That could be a blog,
Mhm.
that could be an email newsletter, that could just be written articles, and then you've got your podcast video crew, and then you've got your
Yep.
in-person crew and your webinar crew and your communities, building communities or membership sites. So they've all got their own things that they're doing.
Yeah, and the risk is that it becomes kind of a bias. This is my go-to format. I like doing this. And an infographic would just feel strange. Maybe it's time, or a roundup or an expert, input might feel strange. Maybe it's time. There's a lot of people who make the case, just hit the record button, especially in the context of AI. As soon as AI came out, I doubled my video production. Need to. No choice. Got to. This is too hard otherwise. Uh, and then the research piece. This is one. I think it's hard for people to embrace this, but and I'm actually a bit skeptical. This reminds me of I heard a stat: 70% of parents bribe their children, and 30% are liars. You believe that 44%
No.
of bloggers are conducting new original research each year?
No.
Well, maybe they're doing a small survey, but they're
Like a
not
poll.
doing a large research project like you're doing. It's a
They,
much, much different thing. So
Okay, well,
they put
I
they
find
put a
that hard to
Twitter poll
believe.
out.
A Twitter poll. Is it
That's
is it an X
research.
poll now? Is it
Right.
I
Oh
don't
yeah, right. Sorry.
well, I don't know. I
well,
I will say
mhm.
that I feel like that 44% number is inflated. But again, going back to like the capabilities here, I think it's much more attainable than it used to be.
Mhm.
Especially with, the time piece and AI. We did some research and I threw the data into GPT and it distilled it for me instead of I remember doing, a research. This was in
Sure.
2014, going back to 2014. I mean, hours upon hours of analyzing that data. Right. And so I think it is more accessible. So maybe this is something we will see grow, whether it's a real number or not.
Well, it's I think the takeaway is, and you can see in the performance, original research, this tends to be one of the stronger outperformers. The point here is that it is a highly differentiated format for content. It makes your site, your brand, the primary source for new information. To put it strongly, there's really two kinds of content programs. There are those that are primary sources for new information, and there's everybody else. Why do we pay attention to McKinsey and Gartner and all those, amazing resources? So, but I think it's hard for people to do it. And but if the threshold goes down, if the commitment goes down, I mean, I think a lot of, I don't know, once a year, answer, produce a new statistic. I think that's doable. I mean, I think anybody could do it if you just, I mean, there's data lying around inside companies. There's things that you have access to. Um, there's how hard, like I have this idea, I've never done it, but we do web development. I have 100 old website RFPs. Casey, to your point, I should give those all to AI, have it analyze them all, make me some charts showing what percentage of RFPs have, this key requirement, or, ask for this information, or what percentage of RFPs are actually just kind of about that brand and not much about the project. I've always known that to be true. Like I think so. What's sitting on your hard drive that you could analyze with or without AI, and could you make a statistic from it?
But I think the original research question, Andy, it goes back to what we love content marketing mission statements. But I think a lot of the goals for organizations that take this survey is not to be the leading informational expert in their particular niche. It's not.
Sure.
And I believe that is what, you could be Jay Akunzo and said your goal, and he says, you want to be somebody's favorite. And
Hmm.
that's a different way to put it. I want to say, hey, we need to be the leading informational expert because we got to break through all this clutter. And how are we going to do that? And original research is probably the best way to do it. And I'd like to see more bloggers and more content marketers come in and say, look, we're going to have to break through it. We have to find our differentiation area, and we have to build a content mission statement. And then as part of that is your research.
Yeah, 100%. I think that a lot of people talk about SEO and they ask about sort of these strange kind of tangent attributes like page speed and mobile friendliness and schema and EAT. Just stand back and look at that thing you made and ask, did you create the best piece of content on the internet for your topic? Look at it. Tell me how this
Exactly.
is. Yeah, make the case for me as a human, just subjectively, that you created the best piece of content on the internet for that topic. Why don't you do that first and see how that works for you? And then think about EAT and mobile, whatever. I don't know. SEOs are weird people. I'm an SEO. I say that as an SEO. Um, hey, I'm doing it now. Can we talk about experts? Uh, Influencer outreach is dropping in popularity. I mean, everyone does social. Search is actually trending over the last, well, this is over 11 years, but email kind of holding steady. Why would there be lower, I mean, fewer people answering this year that they collaborate with influencers? Doesn't that seem, in a way, I sort of, okay, hot take. Maybe this is why people are not getting the results they used to get. It's because people are not doing the things that we know to be successful.
Well,
Kind
what's
of a harsh.
interesting about this is you just showed that roundups were one of the top, right, results drivers.
They are. Yep.
Right. And typically, if you're doing a roundup, you are working with industry influencers and
Sure.
collaborators.
Yep.
But I
Interviews.
right,
Hmm.
exactly, right. Those are all with influencers and collaborators. I mean, I know for a while, it felt like everybody had like the 25 best SEOs, the 25 best content marketers, and I don't think you really see that as much anymore. So that could be a reflection of it. Again, maybe influencers are now all trying to charge, right? Everyone thinks they're like a TikTok influencer. I mean, I'm, just total conjecture, but I will say, like, I don't feel like I see a lot of those same like expert roundups that I used to. So that could be a piece of it as well.
I think the other thing is that if you're doing a blog that really has true influencers as part of the regular content flow, it's incredibly difficult. I mean, we started Content Marketing Institute's blog. Michelle Lynn put that together back starting in 2010. And like you talk about, herding cats. This is 10,000 times worse because you've got very important people, influential people, and you want them to write or be part of your content experience. So if you're like we were a daily blog at the time. I
Yeah.
mean, try doing that 7 days a week. It is not easy. So I think that's part of it, Andy, is it's just a lot easier to not have those kinds of headaches. But you do get results when you do it correctly.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think Andy,
Mhm.
I think you do a really great job of this, you and Amanda as well, of like a lot of times you will publish something, and it's not contingent on influencers or people expert opinions. It's more, hey, here's this thing that we published. Do you have any thoughts on it? And I think that's a really great way to go about it because it's not, hey, we're like to Joe's way, hey, I'm waiting on 10 responses and I've heard from one person. It's, hey, we already have this and it's going to be a good piece of content, but would you like to contribute?
Yeah. If that's the perfect point because there's influencer collaborations where if you don't get participation, you can't proceed. But there's other approaches that are much more low stakes. It's basically an editorial standard on our blog that everything includes at least one contributor quote. And the way I think of it is, so let's say you publish something that's successful, and here it is on LinkedIn, and below there are comments. All we're doing is putting the comments into the piece. It's the same with visuals. There's a social stream and it's filled with visuals and video and points of view. All we're doing is making content that has visuals and videos and points of view within it. If you think of like big tech figured out that these elements are engaging, and they make a social stream that is so engaging and that it's like literally like addictive and potentially socially harmful. If these things are that effective, why don't you make your article look more like a social stream with images and points of view in the piece? Just think of it that way. All we're doing is putting the conversation that might have happened later underneath the post in comments directly into the post. So if I know that there's a dissenting point of view, I will ask that person for their dissenting point of view. Love it. I want you to please disagree with me. It's more fun for me. It's more interesting for the reader. Yep. I love that. Seth Godin once said, the point of your content is to start a conversation. So don't wait until after it's live for the conversation to begin. Start the conversation while creating the content.
Well, you've operationalized it, but it's not too dissimilar from podcasts. Look at the number one podcast in almost every category. They have guests.
Mm-hmm.
You're just expanding your reach because people are more likely to share things that they're in.
Ego bait.
Yeah,
we used to call it. Yeah, in collaboration. I mean, here's my little slide on this. I've got a deck that talks about this. It's like it improves the quality of the content. John Bonini says that we're in a post single point of view era for content. Like single point of view content is over. It's a bit too late for that. You need different perspectives in content. I don't know if that's always true. I think if you're publishing a real strong opinion piece, then it's okay. So yeah, the quality of the content gets better. The quality of the reach gets better, and it's good for your personal network. How many times have I collaborated with each of you on content? Right? Hey, do you want to come on and talk about this? You both said yes right away. You know that we're just going to have a conversation. Your network is a big factor in success.
I think we were in our 20s, Andy. It was a long time ago. I don't think I'm exaggerating too much.
I thought you guys were still in your 20s.
Oh, bless your heart.
There's a picture, there's a conference I was at, and they've got a picture on their website of like an audience watching a speaker. And I'm like, wait, that's me. And I'm looking at my hair from behind for like the first time.
Oh,
I'm not gonna
you can't go on. You can't go on the hair thing, Andy. You gotta stop right there.
I'm just getting out of the shower and looking down and saying, uh-oh.
Yeah, we had 35 minutes of this were great. Now we've jumped the shark. It's over. It's over.
Strong opinions. Okay, bloggers. Most bloggers do not collaborate with influencers, or never. Maybe I guess about half bloggers never do it. Bloggers that do it are far more likely to report success. That is one of the bigger numbers. Look at that.
That's huge.
Yeah. 38% of bloggers who include points of view every time, or most of the time. Yeah, I think so should that will that change? I mean, what is the state of influencer marketing?
I think it's as strong as ever. It's just changing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, when I see this, I see there are a number of bloggers out there that don't like to work that far ahead and don't want the additional difficulty. It just is harder. It is a lot harder if you work on bringing any kind, even your small quotes here and there, Andy, you have to first know that there's an opportunity there. You have to know in your network who to reach out to and then have that happen and integrate it. Like you make it sound very easy, but it's not. You've just been doing it so long. So, yeah, it's just extra. It's really easy for anybody here to get one blog post by ourselves up, posted, done.
It's also, I mean,
plan ahead.
that you have to plan ahead of it. You also, in some cases, like you don't have relationships with these people. You don't know their contact. You might not know their contact info, right? Like in the case of you, Andy, or like, if you're like, hey, like I have this network of people that I tend to work with, right? Like, everybody in the space. But like, if so like an example, like I'm new to like the DTC e-com space. That's our target. So like I'm putting together pieces. Like it takes me a while to find contact info and then to reach out to them in a cold way, or find someone who can connect me. If you don't already have those relationships, like it's a lot of extra work even beyond just the getting the contributions.
Casey, that is so true. I want to like hats off to Andy. I mean, Andy, you and I met 2012 in Columbus at Content Marketing World. You were, I mean, you were there. You might have had a large network, but you've got a really large network now because you went to every event that was ever around content or marketing or whatever, and you went up and talked to a lot of people. And in a couple of years, you had those connections. And I think a lot of people, a lot of bloggers, and a lot of content marketers aren't going to the events that they need to go to build that network to do exactly what's on the screen right now.
I get it. I think that's totally fair. Especially if you're like at an agency and you're just working across all different industries. I mean, you gotta, it doesn't take that long to get up to speed on topics because research can be done quickly, I think, by pros. But to get up to speed on relationships there's no shortcut. So the agency side content marketer, I can imagine just okay, we got an HVAC blog. Who are the HVAC influencers?
Yeah.
I mean, I can spell
Oh.
HVAC, but I don't know anything else about it. So I think that's going to be hard. But also this is, I mean, in defense of the organic, slow growth, personal networking side, there was nothing weird or difficult about how I did it or anyone. I mean, it's just partly, uh, just starting conversations online or off. Attending events has been fantastic, and everyone here is a big believer in person. But it's, I think if imagine this. Okay, I'm gonna write an article about HVAC something. What if you're just in the community and you just post a question and see who engages? Aren't there lots of ways? I mean, there's so many ways to just uh, engage in casual, just to be present and to talk to people. I mean, a fantastic trick for LinkedIn is to just put a question on LinkedIn with some multiple choice kind of answers or something, or just a little point of view. See who engages with that, and then go write the piece that answers that question, and then invite one or two of those people to be part of it. It's like priming the pump. You can start the conversation before you start the piece, and then continue the conversation after the piece is live because you know who to mention and who engaged the first time. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think it's kind of obvious how to do it. It's hard to do, but there's no mystery about how to make friends and connect with people and be present in a community.
Well, I
Is
think
there?
to your point, I think that then the key, if you went that direction, is to say, we're going to do this on every blog post. We're going to add in the quote from the influencer and just make that part of the process. If you do it every once in a while, you'll end up after a while not doing it.
Commit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I mean, a lot of bloggers have lists of topics they might want to cover one day, or key phrases they want to target, uh, or articles they want to update. But on that spreadsheet, add one more tab. It's like people you want to collaborate with.
Well, the other thing too, just in your research, like you've got a lot of quotes from a lot of different people. You take all those quotes. I mean, if you get the permission and say we can use this for other posts, you could have a year's worth of comments and quotes. You just categorize them and say, oh,
Mhm.
we've got this one, this HVAC blog on whatever it is. Say, great. Julie, Casey can put that quote right in there and you can prepare
Love
for
that.
it. Now,
She's not here, but Ashley Zeckman would plug the platforms for influencer research, right? Analytica. This is a software category. There's lots of tools for that. I've never used them, but okay, we can move on from the schmoozy part onto the. Oh, I should have shown this, right? Let's talk about seniority and veteran content marketers. I found this interesting. Experienced bloggers are more likely to do what? Because we asked the question, how many years of experience do you have? So now, Joe, I'm going to give us some credit for our years in business here. 2012 we met. Wow.
yeah, I believe so.
Uh, so opinion pieces. Yeah, anyone can take a stand. But are we just getting cranky as we get older? What's with this? We're more likely to have uh, you know, plant a flag on a certain topic.
Yes, we are getting cranky. That's the answer. But no, but also it works. And you already made this point, Andy. If you say something that gets a conversation going,
Hmm.
what do you want to call it, a sticky point of view,
Hmm.
content tilt, whatever it is you want to talk about, adding in your personal opinion. And by that time, you're also probably an expert, or
Hmm.
or some people will feel you're an expert because you've been building this audience over a long period of time.
Well, and I think back to being new, I was more hesitant to share any sort of like contrarian opinion
Hmm.
because I don't want to roil the masses, right? Like they don't know who I am. Like I'm not trying to pick fights. Like as you get older, you care less, right? You're like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm an expert in this area. If you want to disagree with me, just like you guys said, if you want to disagree, great. Like, let's have that conversation because I feel like I have enough information now to have like that conversation, even if we don't agree. But when you have less experience, you're certainly not as comfortable with that.
And you work with Larry Kim, and he's
And
pretty good at this, right?
he
Yeah.
is not
Tell us
afraid
about
to give
Larry.
his opinions. Yeah. And I love that. I mean, it's really it's been such an eye opener for me. Because I think I'm a fairly opinionated person, but not like that. Like he doesn't care. Like he's like, this is what I think. And if people want to have like a conversation where we disagree, like that's fine. And there's something admirable about that. Like I don't have that quality. But it
Yeah,
works,
he
right? I mean, it works.
But then again,
Larry.
it
Mhm.
goes back to what your content mission is, because you have to be in a point, if you have that kind of content, you have to be okay with not having certain customers.
Absolutely.
I mean, as
Mhm.
you know, Anne Hanley always says, if everybody's your customer, then nobody's your customer. So like
Mhm.
figure out who that is, and then your content can back that up with the type of customer you want. And that
Mhm.
that takes takes a certain kind of approach.
Well, I think it's more important now than ever to embrace this. I think it's, if you thought original research was hard, strong opinion, I think it may be not nearly as time consuming, but I think it takes more guts, and a lot of brands just don't want to touch it. The Steve Raisin in the early days published, probably 10 years ago, published this thing that said that the two most effective formats for content were strong opinion and original research. Today, I think that's even more important because the two things that AI can't really ever do, probably, is produce new original research, reach out to 1,000 bloggers, or publish an opinion piece. I mean, AI ingested the internet and it can summarize the internet beautifully, but it doesn't have any beliefs. It doesn't care about anything. I'll give you an example of some sentences that AI could never write. Branding firms don't build websites very well, and web development companies really don't do branding. I will die on that hill. I strongly believe I have lots of evidence and experience about that. Or marketers overbuy technology. AI can't write that sentence. Cream ruins coffee. That's not coffee anymore. I don't know what it is. It's a candy bar. You wrecked it. AI can never write these sentences because AI has no point of view. It doesn't care about anything. So now is the perfect time to draw a line in the sand on anything and just say you believe in this, and you think this is good, and you think that's actually the wrong way to do something, or people should stop doing X, or uh, this is I think that these you will see this more and more. The brands and personal brands that grow the fastest are the ones that are a bit more values and beliefs based, and their content doesn't taste like water. You know what they think. You know what they believe. Um,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, I think that's like a generational shift as well that, the people younger than me, they care about the values of companies, right? They care about that transparency, like in the software space, especially like the
mhm,
D2C space, like that whole founder-led growth. People want those founder stories, right? You see LinkedIn, it's all founder stories. This is how I did this. There's that idea of transparency. People
mhm,
want that. They want to feel connected to a brand, right? We think about REI. What do people love about REI? right? They stand for something. Their founders always talking about the things they're doing. So I'm with you. I think we will continue to see more of this.
It seems like there's a guy named Ryan Law who is head of content at Animals with a Z. Remember Animals? Yeah, content agency. And he said that when he works with clients, the first step is point of view development. I love that. He wants to find he's looking, their model was to talk to the brand and find the counter narratives. I love that. What
It's
counter
very,
narratives?
very PR. It's a very PR strategy, right?
It is. It is. Joe, you've taken a lot stands on a lot of things. Points of view. There's
Well, I mean, when we came out, this is back in 2007, 8, when we said, well, the industry should be called content marketing. I mean, it doesn't seem like it now, but at that time we were taking a very distinct point of view, saying custom publishing, custom media, branded content, branded journalism, customer media, member media, all those things. It's not going to work. Has to have marketing in it if you're going to attract marketers into this type of philosophy. So that's the type of thing, and that's why I love phrases. I love, and by the way, HubSpot did this with inbound, and there's
Yep.
lots of other examples out there. But yeah, if you can do that and find that gap and that opportunity where there's not good coordination, it's the best thing that you can do to break through all the clutter.
Yeah, it just feels different. And I think it will feel even more different in the future when more people are just using AI to create kind of. I have a slide in a deck. I joke that AI might as well stand for average information. It read the internet and it summarized the internet, and that is obviously nothing different than what's already been posted. It won't produce anything that is not, from its data set, from its knowledge base. What else do I have here? Wrapping up here in a bit. More experienced bloggers are more likely to put in statistics. That's just like journalistic standards, maybe, right? Contributor quotes, we talked about a bit. Video, a correlation between experience and these content elements.
Probably coming from, I think you're right, probably coming from a journalistic background. I mean, if you're talking about 15 plus years before it was called a blog, when it was early blogging days.
Or just having a better knowledge of what's going to work, right? We said these are the things that work. Let's add it and make sure it's part of your process, just like you guys have both noted.
But that shouldn't have anything to do with experience. I mean, why wouldn't a brand new, freshly minted content marketer know from the jump that you need to support your assertions with data? I'm a bit disappointed.
Maybe because they've been paying attention to the content that's out there already. Just to be honest, there's not a lot of that going on right now. So it's like,
because they forgot to include supportive evidence in their prompt.
Yeah. You just have to say it over and over again in different ways. You don't have to cite anything. I'm being facetious, obviously.
Me too. I know, but that is I don't know. I've got words. We need to get this. We need to talk to people about basic content standards. And then this one, contributor quotes, including points of view. That kind of makes this actually. I'm sympathetic because if you're new to the category, you may not have a network yet. That maybe Jay Akonzo doesn't come to mind when you think about differentiated content or something.
It could be a training issue too, Andy. I mean, I'm curious. I'm very curious about this page in particular, because I'm wondering if you get a lot of new bloggers in on the brand side and they're not being trained properly, especially with working remote, not being in the office together. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, I think I don't have the chart here, but younger bloggers are less or I shouldn't say younger, it's not age, actually, it's experience. Newer bloggers are less likely to work with editors. Why? I mean, maybe that's the person who really needs the editor. Wow, time is flying. I think I've got just one left here. This is the composite combo of the things that correlated the most, kind of cherry picking the biggest things that seem to be impacting performance. Collaboration with influencers, long form content, highly visual content, keyword focused, iterative, checking analytics, working with editors. I mean, to sum up, the most successful content programs are creating visual, collaborative, and well-supported pieces that go deep into articles and are relevant in search when possible. Wouldn't everybody get better results if they just kind of prioritize those few elements? I guess that's a rhetorical question. What do you think of these numbers here?
I think this is a great slide for anybody getting started, so they know what they need to do. But again, it comes back to time and process, mission statement, those types of things. How serious are we? How support him?
Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, I think it goes back to that idea of results and value, right? Each of these things, what makes them good is they provide more value in what you're doing. But if there's still plenty of people out there who are looking for that quantity, right? And if you're looking for that quantity of blogs or quantity of content, you maybe don't have the time to put all of these things in and to spend the time to create the value. And so that goes to, okay, well, let's revisit what we're doing. Like, is it better to post one thing a week that's really valuable than putting out 3 so-so things that aren't driving results? And I think the answer is yes.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
I think one of the reasons people don't do that as much is because there's no metric in your analytics or anywhere for how memorable your content is. Wouldn't you love to know that? Which of your pieces do people remember after 2 months? If you knew that, you might really change. The most important things, word of mouth and top of mind, they don't exist. There's no metrics for the most important things in marketing. The content really, the way that the data works, it's sort of, people prioritize weird stuff. Hey, I almost forgot. Here's the AI data. Thanks everyone who's still here with us. We've got just a minute left. Can't believe I forgot to put this. This is maybe one of the more interesting things. This is last year versus this year, how people are using AI. What do you think?
I hate to see what next year's is.
Oh, no, you teed me up though, Joe. Now predict what are you going to see next year?
Oh my God, 60% across the board. Jeez.
I was gonna say I was really happy that like write complete drafts was only at 6%.
When I'm sorry, I should know this, Andy. What month was this done? This research?
It was only 3 weeks ago. Most of the responses were gathered 2 to 3 weeks ago.
Still totally new. Okay, great. Wonderful.
You won't like this, Casey. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm a big advocate for using AI for your content for these things, generating ideas. Like, to your point of AI and how it only works with the information it has in the information you give it, right?
Mhm.
What I love, a few really great use cases that work for me is I write my post. Well, now I need to write my social media post, which you see on here. I have my emails, and I can say, here's my post. Give me X, so Twitter updates,
Sure.
no more than this character, matching this tone, doing this. The amount of time that saves is great. And it doesn't really impact the quality because I can adjust. Hey, change this, write this. It's what
That's
you
right.
put into it. So I think there was a huge advantage, just going back to what we were talking about earlier with time. Yeah, like just don't write your whole post. Just don't use it for your whole post.
I think that's the key. Use it for all the other things, but don't use it for the actual content itself. The ideation, not a problem.
Yeah, I think it breaks my heart a bit, but actually, it's the bloggers who used it to write their entire first drafts. Although that's a small number because it was only 6% of people in the data set report strong results. What are these? The quantity daily publishers, the people turning the crank and banging out, just hitting publish.
You think that's temporary? It's got to be, right? It's got to be a lower number.
Yeah, I mean, it's the subjectivity of the category, because strong results we allow people to, because bloggers have all different. There's a natural flaw in this research because we don't define success. We just let it be strong results, and people can define that however they like. You might say that you get strong results because you only had to spend 15 minutes on each article. So, but generally speaking, I think that it's interesting, if nothing else, only 20% of 20% do not use AI. And if you aren't ready for it, I get it. And I'm not seeing that much data yet that shows that this really doesn't show a dramatic impact for performance with AI, even though we're seeing far, far greater adoption. Whatever that's worth, TBD. Final thoughts on the future of content? Oh, Casey, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, and it kind of goes to the future of content. I mean, I think people are still learning how to use AI. That's the biggest thing, right? The platforms are still evolving. You know, the new GPT, right? It does have some opinions. Like, do we want their opinion? Probably not, but it's still evolving. I think people are still, a year ago, I was very anti-AI. You know, working with Larry, like he's really showed me how to use it. I've been using it so consistently now that I'm able to use it in a valuable way. But if you're not doing it consistently, it is a little bit overwhelming, and it's a little bit like, hey, I don't want AI touching my content. But I think there's a huge value, especially for content marketers, in figuring out that ideas piece, that headlines piece, like the outlines piece. I think there's a lot of value there.
Joe, final thoughts about the future of content?
I would say use blogging. Yeah. Use blogging and anything else you can do to create opt-in permission-based communications, get your email lists in order, get that direct data as much as you can before we lose what we have to social and search AI and Google not showing our links and all the other stuff. So I think we still have time right now, but I am obviously concerned about the future because more and more of it is happening on other platforms, and we don't have the direct connections we need. But so that's what I would say. That would be my focus. And we talk about the importance of email, and we have for a long, long time. It's still as critical as ever. But have your blogging help you do that is a really good way to go.
So grateful to both of you for making this just a way better hour than I would normally have, just ripping through a deck. Your points of view, you are helping us shape the final analysis, which we need to begin writing, because when does this piece come out? Amanda, when are we publishing?
Are you done writing it?
Let's go.
I will start writing here in a minute.
Next
We
week.
publish on Wednesday evenings, so this will be October 3rd.
Perfect.
It's not this week, but next week.
Can't wait.
So, coming soon.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Casey.
Have a beautiful day. Thank you all.
Bye.
Stay tuned, everyone. Bye-bye.